Hello and welcome to the 167. In today's podcast, we're going to be speaking about all things relationships. If you're single, dating, married, none of the above, this podcast is just for you. We're going to answer some great questions. Stick around. There's a saying in the Bible that everybody in your room in a coffee shop this message. Hello and welcome everybody to the 167 podcast. It is so good to see you and to be with you, to be seen by you, to be heard by us. Really great honor and privilege to be with you guys again for another episode.
Back at it, back in the conversation seat.
We don't stop.
Yeah, so my name is Swen and we're with Phil, and 167 is all about us having 168 hours in the week. And we obviously church people, so we focus on 1 day of a week, 1 hour of a week, but we think that we can add value into the other hours of your life so that you can continue to grow in your relationship with God, grow in your relationship with other people, which is what we're going to talk about today, and grow personally. And so it's an honor to have you, and thank you for your time. It is going to be a good day. You know, I'm bumping into a lot of people are asking about the 167 lately.
Really?
Yeah. I had a meeting today with somebody and asked me, hey, how's the podcast going? I'm like, well, thank you so much.
Thank you for noticing.
Our 5 listeners are really taking it to the next level because we've gone past 1,000 listens.
That's amazing.
1,000 listens and views, of course. So we got YouTube, podcast. I actually checked on our podcasting distributor that we are in loads of places. Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a whole bunch of others that I've never heard of in my life.
That's brilliant.
But it's good news.
That's amazing news. We've got
thank you.
We've got the best listening community and
We
watching
do.
community. We're so grateful. Like none of this would be possible. It wouldn't be worth it, to be honest, if we didn't have such like an amazing community. And every week we're trying to be a bit more interactive, be more engaging with our community. So if there's anything about the 167 that you'd like us to speak about maybe, or just engaging with us, but it'd been really cool seeing some questions and comments on the YouTube page. So feel free, leave comments, leave questions.
That is great. Yeah.
Leave whatever you want to do. We love it. We really enjoy that.
Do you know what we have to do in our podcast episodes is we have to do like an unboxing of like mail.
Yeah.
Like not fan mail. I mean, well,
we don't get too much of that.
We're not talking about fan mail, but maybe just hey, what's the comments of the week? What's the responses of the week? That could be fun. So send in some of your comments, some of your questions, some of your thoughts.
We want to feature you.
We would just give shout outs. And if you want to send us bags of coffee, hey, you know what?
You can do that.
We'll figure out what to do with that.
So good. And we're excited about today. Something to notice is that we're both wearing sandals today, which is pretty cool.
It is. I need to hide my feet.
No, your feet are fine. Everyone needs to hide their feet. It's me. But it's the jean sandals. It's that weather now, isn't it? It's kind of getting, yes, we're there now.
The mornings are cool, but then the afternoons are heating up.
Would this be considered autumn yet?
End of February. So the autumn is in Cape Town, the 1st of March.
So that's when autumn starts.
That's the official autumn.
So we're nearly there.
Yeah, we're nearly there. And February hasn't been that hot, so I'm wondering if the hot is coming in March, April. Sometimes there is that little run.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We will see.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But I am going to fertilize my lawn in March. Because I figure it's still a growing season, not too cold. We got a lot of sun in Cape Town.
Yeah, it might actually be a good time to do it.
I don't want to do it now because it's too hot now.
It's really hot.
It's like, and so the sun's baking down. I don't want the fertilizer to cook the grass.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for a bit of cooler weather, a new month, new budget.
It's strategic gardening.
Thinking about it.
We can do a gardening episode.
We should do a gardening episode. I could tell you
almost.
You've got a story with grass. You love grass. You cut grass.
I enjoy grass.
You enjoy grass.
But let's just say real quick that it's the grass that grows in the garden. Actually, it doesn't even help my case.
No.
It is just normal grass.
It is the grass grows where you water it.
That grass.
So it's not greener on the other side. It's green where you water it and fertilize it.
I love that. There's a sermon in that. I got to get myself together here because we're not speaking about.
But it is good. So relationships. We're not just talking about friendship relationships or IQ. Or EQ as a whole. We're talking specifically about romantic relationships.
Yeah.
Or should you be in one? Do you have to be in one?
Are you far
obligated
behind?
to be in one?
Yeah.
Has God called you to one?
Yeah.
Is singleness like an actual calling from God?
Yeah.
If you are, and it's so funny. I mean, you'll experience this with your parents. Once you get a girlfriend, and then it's like, okay, is it going somewhere? And then when
Yeah,
it's going
every
somewhere, the
time.
question is, when you're going to get engaged?
Yeah.
And then once you're engaged, okay, so when you're going to get married? When you're married, it's going to be, okay, when you're going to settle down? When you're going to get a baby? When you're going to get another baby?
Yeah.
When you're going to do? So there's always this progression in life, which
Yeah,
is
it
really
is.
healthy. I think
It's
we
true.
always have to progress, but I think at some points it can put on a lot of pressure, and I think society is always asking, so what's your next step?
Yeah.
And it just puts so much pressure on people to have it all figured out. And I don't think you have to have it all figured out. But what we can do and what we want to discover in this episode is, what does healthy relationships look like?
Very good.
How do relationships honor God? And where are you in that cycle, I
Yeah.
suppose?
Yeah. So we want to reach people wherever they're at today. So if you are listening or watching and you are a single person,
Shout
or
out.
maybe you are in a dating relationship, maybe you're married, or something else, maybe you're confused, it's complicated, whatever. There's so many ways to describe relationships these days. Wherever you're at,
Friends with benefits.
Friends with benefits, hey, that could be you right now there. That's all good. We're glad that you could join us, you could be with us. But what we want to do today, like Sven said, is we want to speak about these different seasons, because it really does feel like, and I love that you touched on that there's a timeline that's just always ticking. And when you're single, it's about when you're dating. And when you're dating, when you're getting married. And it's this progression that's there. And what it does do sometimes, and maybe we can start here, because we want to speak about kind of what we want at the heart of all relationships, regardless of whether it be single or dating or whatever that is. But what it does do is it puts a pressure on wherever you're at currently, and it kind of makes you feel like that where I'm at right now isn't good enough, or where I'm at right now is not exactly within God's plan for my life. And for me, just in kind of preparing for today and in reading a few different articles on what guys say about singleness and dating, because it's so funny. I mean, we're both married, and me a bit shorter than you. You've been married for like 35 years now.
In the shade.
and for me, a couple years, and it's kind of hard to remember what it was like to be single and dating. And for me, just reading through these articles, it was a great reminder that in whatever season you're in, you can honor God so well in that season. And it can be a very significant, very effective time for you in your life. But for some reason, it always feels like we've got to tick on, and we've got to move forward. So maybe where we can start is that wherever people are watching from today, whatever relationship they find themselves in, what would you say, maybe speak about this for a moment, what would you say is the goal for us in any relationship? What is the goal, our first and foremost goal that we should be striving towards? And then from that place, we can look on and look forward to what we're moving to next.
Yeah, that's a good question. A simple answer. I think it's in relationships as it is in all of life, is to honor God first.
Yeah.
Because if we honor God, if we are committed to honoring God before anything else we do, we will have healthy healthy boundaries, healthy relationships, because honoring God leads to flourishing in life.
Yeah.
Maybe not in the ways that everybody thinks, but certainly in the ways that matter the most.
I love that.
So I would say that, yeah.
I think that's where we've got to start. And I think for me as well, it's as soon as we start putting other things in the place of God, that's when you can start having issues. You can do that when you're single. You can do that when you're dating. You can do it when you're married. And we speak about it in church sometimes. God's got a throne in our life. He's got a place where he needs to be. And as soon as you start putting other things on God's throne, the only thing that's going to happen is that you're going to end up extremely disappointed, because you're wanting something from somebody. You want them to fulfill a task or a place in your life that they're actually incapable of fulfilling. They'll never be able to do it. And it will end in heartache. And it will end in hurt.
You're right.
But if we can start with saying, hey, regardless of my relational status, God is the king of my life. He is my source. He leads me wherever I'm at relationally. I'm going to start there, and then from that place, I'm going to look out, and I'm going to move from there. And in that way, you don't put unnecessary pressure on a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a wife or a husband that could bring later on some hurts.
You're right. You remember that song "King of My Heart"?
I do.
Now, I think that's how, certainly for me, is that I love Jesus, and when I was dating, who's now my wife, and when I was single and all of that, God was the king of my heart. Like, I can honestly say that with honesty, but he didn't have every key to every door in my heart. And I think that's where Christians falter a lot of the time, is that we want God to lead us, but not in every aspect.
Yeah.
And so we keep a key to certain doors in our heart.
Keep those closed.
And we keep it closed until we go through pain and we realize, God needs that key. Otherwise, this is not going to be healthy.
Yeah.
And so that's where we falter and we stumble and we fall. And God's grace is so good. But how amazing would it be if we can make a decision from today, despite what's happened in the past, to make a new commitment to say, I'm going to give the key to every door in my heart to the Lord, and let Him determine what's healthy and what's successful and what's right.
Yeah.
And I think that's because I don't think people are like going, okay, God, off the throne, I'm putting this person there. I think it's an unintentional,
big time,
cherry picking in a sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you know what's so good about that is that when you do that, when you are able to make a decision and say, cool, I'm gonna give all of me to God, my mess, my mistakes, what I feel I'm good at and strong at, I'm gonna give it all to God. It brings great kind of healing into your life, firstly, but it's also the best gift you can give a future spouse, or if you're a single person, is to say, hey, I've kind of everything I've got, I've given it all over to God, and I'm on a journey of healing and becoming better and working through baggage, because this is not just for people that have lived the perfect life. I mean, you could be watching today and be like, I'm divorced, or I'm in a dating relationship that isn't healthy, whatever the deal is.
Yeah.
But if your first step is I'm gonna commit to God, I'm gonna give every key to every room to Him, you then become someone who's in a much better position to date somebody or to get married to somebody, because you're openly saying that God has got full control in my life. It's the best gift you can give somebody. So even for single people, we might start there. Take us a few years, you a few years back, me a few years back. Talk about singleness, because singleness actually sometimes in church circles, I don't know if you've noticed this, but definitely with young adults and stuff like it almost feels like it's a sin, you know? Like if you're single, if you aren't dating, it just looks like
What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you? Like, and people, I swear, people start asking the question of themselves as well, because it's highlighted in church, marriage, and marriage is amazing. So we're going to get to that, but marriage, it's the most perfect thing. The pastor speaks about his wife all the time. People are leading as couples and all of these amazing. So if you're a single person and you're kind of looking onto that and you're seeing that, you might get the impression that I probably shouldn't be single, or I'm at the age now where I should probably start dating or getting married. But just in thinking about it and reading some stuff, there are some amazing possibilities and opportunities that there still are there for people that are still single. I don't know if you can recall your wild single days.
I would never want to go back to the way that I felt when I was single.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is wrapped up because being a teenager or stepping into young adulthood is a lot of insecurity and a lot of inferiority complex, and it's got a lot to do with I was also chubby, girls weren't interested in me in school, and I'm looking back now, I don't have an issue about it. Back then I obviously had issues about it. Now I'm like, thank you Jesus that wasn't the case, right? He kept me from a lot of stupid stuff. Because it wasn't something I could steward well at the time, so I'm grateful. It was a difficult time of life, just generally. So, and that's when everything starts changing for you as a person, right?
Yeah.
In those early, from 14, 16, maybe it's earlier now, I don't know. Certainly for me, it was more like 15, 16 to about 20, 21. It was very strange. I think after 21, I started feeling a lot more settled.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was crazy. I think one of the big things is that we comparison. Comparison is a serious trap where we look around and we see people that we look up to and they're in relationships.
Yeah.
And now we're like, oh, well, if they need a relationship to be whole, then I need a relationship to be whole. Yeah. And we forget that one is a whole number all by itself.
Yeah. Do you know how ungodly it is to look to somebody else to complete you instead of finding that completion in God and finding that fullness and that wholeness in God? It is it's a crazy way to think. I mean, the whole "you complete me."
I mean, I did that, but
we all
agree.
did it. No, we totally. We all did it. I mean, my story also. I grew up. I was very chubby. very insecure to the point where you move out of that season of chubbiness and whatever it is, but you still carry the insecurity. That kind of stays with you for a long time. And then I kind of try to look for identity and love and self-worth in some of these relationships. But you're a 15, 16-year-old guy. It's just, it is a recipe for disaster. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that can relate. And I ended up making mistakes and really bad decisions as a young guy that I had to deal with as an 18, 19, 20-year-old guy trying to get my life on track and trying to do the right things and to honor God and to seek God first, like we've been speaking about. So the journey of singleness and trying to get out of singleness is one that presents a lot of obstacles and ones that presents a lot of kind of pitfalls as well.
Of course.
But what it also does, and I think there's so many people that can relate to it, what it also does is that if you're someone who's, maybe you're a church person, maybe not, but definitely in the context of church and trying to honor God with your life, what being single does give you is quite a few different type of opportunities in which you can honor God and serve God with your life and your time that someone who is in a dating relationship or even a marriage relationship can't do. I remember when I was still single briefly before I started dating my now wife, I had about kind of a year-ish, maybe 6 months, where I was able to just focus, and I really did. I mean, I really did focus on my studies. I focused on church. I focused on youth ministry. And I wasn't tied down in any way to, I want to say this in the best way, but when you start dating somebody, you take them into consideration completely with your finances, with who you hang out with, the time that you spend, all of that stuff. But for those 6 or 7 or 8 odd months, I was able to do a lot of stuff just kind of based on what was in my wallet at the time, which young guys I wanted to hang out with and meet and chill with, and try to do things in a different way. I could stay late to church events. I could do things differently. And it was a great time. I mean, I love being married now, and the dating season was also amazing. But I think sometimes single people can take that for granted, that they've got this window of opportunity now where they don't have to take someone else necessarily into consideration with the things that they do and the way that they act and spend their time. It's like this great window of opportunity where you can give so much more of yourself to maybe your church or to a ministry that you're a part of, or to hanging out with people, building great relationships, meeting people. And I think it's a bad thing to try to wish that season away, because the time will come where you can't really have that anymore.
No, you're right. I mean, a great text to read up on this is 1 Corinthians 7, where Paul talks about, in fact, marriage. He talks about singleness. In fact, Paul goes on to say, the apostle says, if you can be single, that's better.
Yeah.
Because you can devote more time
exactly.
in the service of God.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're married, he says, you are concerned with the things of the world, because you have to be.
You have to be.
You have to be, and that doesn't. He says you don't dishonor. You're not sinning by being married. You honor God through your marriage. But it does limit you in some areas. And Paul the apostle was someone who wrote most of the New Testament, able to give his life completely for the mission of God. I do think that some people, as sad as they might feel about it, is that some people I do think are called to be single.
Yeah.
And if you can embrace that, that's good. But if the desire is in your heart to actually have a relationship with somebody, then that's a good desire. Paul says that it is better to be with somebody than to burn with lust. Now, of course, that means married to somebody. It doesn't mean
be with somebody.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Exactly. You got to buy the cow before you drink the milk.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. How would you? Sorry, on the spot question, but you say sometimes it's better for people. Some people are called to be single. How would you tell? Like, if there's somebody that's listening today and maybe they feel like that could be them, how could you look at your life and tell, I might be called to single living?
I think if you don't feel the desire to have somebody in your life as a partner, maybe that's a God-given desire, rather than trying to force it to work because everybody else is doing it. And again, it comes into the comparison.
Yeah.
Comparison to Paul, actually, in this whole text in himself, he says, whatever situation you find yourself in, stay there and honor God. So if it is a case of you don't have a desire for a spouse, there's other ways of companionship. There's friendship, right?
Yeah.
But if you have a desire or a longing to be with somebody, or you burn with lust, maybe you don't burn with lust. And you don't have a desire to be, you don't need somebody around you. And not saying that in a negative context.
Yeah.
I know that I need to be married.
Yeah.
That I know that. And I love being married. I love being with my wife. But if you don't need that and it doesn't, your soul doesn't search for that.
Yeah.
Then maybe that's a gift from God for you to do something else, because you've got more time, you've got more resources, you can take bigger risks.
Yeah.
When you're married, you can't take the same risks as you could before.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't know if that's clear. I think
that's clear.
I think if you've got any comparison, like, oh, I'm supposed to be at this point in life because that's where somebody my age should be.
Yeah.
That's not God speaking to you. That's you allowing outside pressures to dictate the course of your life.
Very good. Yeah, I think for all single people, that's great advice. Just in general, is to really enjoy the season that you're in, because I think it's as soon as we start wishing we were somewhere else that we miss the opportunities that the present season presents.
Yeah, I do have an other side of that conversation though.
Go for it.
Where I think that Christians, specifically in a church context, put way too much pressure on dating, and so they stay single way too long because they're like, what's going to happen if I go and have coffee with this person? Is everyone going to ask me about marriage?
Yeah.
Or the other thing is like, I'm looking for the perfect worship leader to be the person I ask out. Or
what's wrong with going 6'2", can play the guitar, great vocal?
I think a list is great, but why don't you just have a coffee and see where that goes before?
Good, yeah.
You know, I think standards are good, but I think sometimes in church you can have. It's like, I'm only going to go out with a person I'm confident I'm going to marry, and that's weird.
It is weird.
Because you put way too much pressure on yourself and that person, and what if that person doesn't come along?
It is weird, yeah.
Or you look at someone and you're intimidated by their character.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you should go out with someone who's got bad character, but you know what? How do you test their character until you actually get to know them a little bit, have coffee with them? Like at least take a step and risk it. And if they say no, well, you know what? Now you're learning to live life, because a lot of life is people saying no.
I love that. I think this is so aligned with some of the advice I like to give. It's a very weird thing to tell somebody to only date when they're almost sure this is now going to be your soulmate, then to go on a date because you're sure of marriage. It's a weird thing, and it's unrealistic to think that people can do that. And I think you're right. I think in churches, it's funny. People get married so quickly and young.
Yeah.
Especially in churches, and whether that's a good or a bad thing. I mean, I got married at 23, so I'm not trying to bash it or anything like that. But it was after 4 years of dating, so it's not like we didn't spend time getting to know each other. And I think we're like scared. We think it's sinful to ask somebody out on a coffee, to go and meet somebody, to go and get to know somebody. How else do you know?
Yeah.
There's a line where it's like, well, how well do I get to know them?
Totally.
Like, do I fully test the waters? Do I make sure there's chemistry? And we can speak. We can kind of speak into that. But I love this. This is dovetailing perfectly into kind of getting into dating, is that we do need to allow people need to allow themselves freedom to get to know people and to go for a coffee and to hang out and to build some relationship. But don't be weird about it.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question that has no repercussions?
I don't believe that.
Well, maybe not, at least not with me. But because I have a theory about dating time, especially when you're young.
Good, yeah.
And of course, what you did is it worked out for you guys. I wouldn't recommend someone to date in a very serious context from very early on. So if you only see the chance to get married in 5 to 10 years' time, don't date fast now. Date can almost be like, I'm saying, like casual, in a sense of, hey, let's go slowly.
Yeah. Hang out with friends.
Hang out and be together, but not accelerate so fast, because once you accelerate too fast, you got nowhere to go. Yeah. And you put so much more pressure on yourself that you almost have to pull out of the relationship. Or
I agree.
So I'm just trying to see what you think.
I agree with you completely. I mean, just quick context to people. Like, I started dating my wife when she was 18. I was 19. She had just left high school. And we kind of started dating. And there were two things that I've got no regrets, nothing at all. But there were two things that if I could have done maybe potentially differently, it maybe would have been. And it's exactly that. It's this, when you start dating somebody at quite a young age, and especially when you've got a lot of growth. So in my case, as an 18, 19-year-old guy, there were things that I thought that I was good at, but there were definitely areas in my life that I really had to grow in. And when you start dating, it's almost like having someone hold up a mirror, like to your face every day, because you will then, especially if the person is like Jean, who is very serious about our relationship, when I did things that didn't make sense, or that she didn't respect or wasn't building into our relationship, she would tell me about it. And to hear about that quite regularly, and how slow you're developing, or not slow, but the growth that you're going on, it can be very difficult.
Yeah.
And especially on a different level, on a spiritual journey, when you're trying to grow from a spiritual place, and there's things that you need to work through. I had baggage that I took into this relationship from high school relationships. I was trying to deal with all of that. Trying to deal with that stuff while in a dating relationship is extremely difficult. Doing that when you're a single person with a mentor, with people that you care about and can speak into your life, I find it a bit easier. We had struggles that were definitely emphasized, because we were still in areas, especially me, we were in areas of our lives where we were also trying to figure kind of ourselves out, where we were at with God, and where we were at in our lives, and things that we wanted to let go of, things we wanted to walk away from. So that would be the one big thing where I would say, I think if there was like a 2-year gap, where it was that intense time of just looking into ourselves and developing and maybe growing and letting go of some things, it might have taken less pressure. Might have taken pressure off the relationship. But in saying that, it's all worked out in the end, and we navigated that season, and we're stronger. We're stronger for it. We love each other more for it, and then we did a period of dating. The other side of it is, and I think you alluded to this as well, is that if you're young people and you are, let's say you're studying your medical degree and you've got 7 years of studies, but you're in a relationship and you're already saying, we're only going to get married when my degree is done, or when we're done studying. It's also a lot of pressure, because as soon as you start dating somebody, there's physical attraction. That's a thing. If there isn't physical attraction, you're probably not right for each other. There's physical attraction, and you've now got to, and as Christians, we don't believe in premarital sex. We believe that is something designed specifically for man and wife, a beautiful gift that is best used and best experienced when in marriage. So that's what we teach and we believe. But when you start dating and you now understand that, and trying to stay away from that temptation, especially for a long period of time, that in itself puts huge amount of pressure on a relationship and on a young couple that are trying to honor God in a relationship.
So I think speed in that is an important thing, to pace yourself well. And again, what we're saying is wisdom leads to healthy outcomes most of the time. So it's not like it's the hard and fast rule. It's just a working theory at this point. But I mean, and you've got Christians who are amazing, and they've been single and they want to have relationships, but they've been single for too long because they're too scared to step out of the boat and take a risk and actually invite somebody. And I just want to say, if there's a next step for some single person who desires to be in a relationship, just ask somebody out. If they say no, you know what? That's fine. It's not rejection on you. It's just that's not who they're looking for. And you just got to be okay with that. And go again. You know, all the great things in life come from risk.
I love that.
Nothing good comes from your life through inactivity. And so I would just trust God, pray, and then go for it.
Buy somebody a coffee. Like
totally.
Just invite somebody, take somebody out. It can bless you. And I think one of the other things, as the conversation moves forward, is that something that was so helpful for us. I'm not sure for you and Lara in your dating season, but for us in our dating season, and it wasn't always in place and it wasn't always perfect, but we had people that and our people were different, myself and Jean-Marie, but we had people that we could speak to when we were feeling like we weren't sure on how to do something, when we were feeling like we were under pressure, when we were upset with each other and we didn't know how to handle the conversation, and we didn't know how to handle the conflict. And we had people, so we had like a permanent dating, like a third wheel. And that's actually known as something quite negative, to be a third wheel. But we had a third wheel most of the time, people that we could speak to and could contact that can speak wisdom. And these were usually people that are further along in life. So people that were possibly married, people that cared about us, that we trusted, and that when they told us, which they did, that we were being stupid or we were not doing the right thing, we were actually not too proud to take their advice.
Which is really good. That's
and,
wise.
And I think for whatever season you find yourself in a single season, in a dating season, and even in a married season, to have that third wheel somewhere. And always try to get people that you trust, but people that are just a tiny bit further along in the journey.
Yeah.
Because they can tell you how they navigated through the situation that you're struggling with.
Yeah. No, that sounds really good. I think Proverbs says that it's, you grow in wisdom through advisors. And I think a fool doesn't take a rebuke, and I think that you can grow from those are incredibly wise. And what I'd like to give people is, if they're dating at the moment or if they are single at the moment, I'd love to, or even if they're engaged, because engagement is a promise to get married, but you still got a hand on the eject button if you need it. Rather pull out then than commit to something lifelong. So anyway,
that's wise and terrible at the same time.
And terrifying. Yeah. So what I want to say is that there is a criteria in it, and I think Craig Rochelle speaks so powerfully on it, where he says, serve God together, and then every now and then look around and see who's serving God with you.
Very good. Yeah.
And then make a move towards them and grow in friendship and ask them out and that kind of stuff. If someone cannot serve God when they're single, they're not going to serve God when you're dating.
What about the person that says that they'll change him?
Evangelidating. Oh my head. You know what? It's worked maybe 1 or 2% of the time.
Flirt to convert.
Flirt to convert. You know what? If you're willing to bet your lifetime on that, then go for it.
Yeah.
But I'm not willing to. That's for sure. You know what? Flirt to convert, then break up.
Yeah.
So once they're converted, break up and see how they go.
Yeah. See if they stay converted.
Yeah, exactly. What was it all about you? Because that's the thing. People will do whatever just to get your attention. Dating for the first couple of months, it's all about lies in order to get the other person to like you.
Big time. We all suddenly become fans of ballet.
Exactly.
Who watches
buying
ballet?
flowers all the time. But you want someone who can serve God, and you want someone who is developing in godly character.
Yeah.
The worst thing to happen in a marriage is to get stuck with, I'm sorry, but it's to get stuck with someone who doesn't love God.
Yeah.
Because you're all alone in that marriage.
Yeah.
All alone. And even as we talk into marriage, like there's a triangle that people talk about, how God is at the top of the relationship and then the spouse is on either end. The closer both of you get to God, the closer you get to one another.
Yeah.
And I found that to be true in my marriage, that as I'm drawing closer to the Lord convicts me about something that I should have sorted out with my wife.
Yeah.
And then I do that.
Yeah.
And our marriage gets stronger, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But if you're both pulling in opposite directions, you're just getting further away from one another. So I think the most important thing in a relationship is that person in love with Jesus?
That's good. I mean,
and surrendered.
Totally. And even for the people, maybe there are some married people that find themselves in a marriage like that. It also says in Scripture that if that is the case, don't leave your husband or wife because they're an unbeliever, because you might be the only thing that can get them to know Jesus or to love Jesus. But what it is an extremely uncomfortable situation.
Yeah.
And it makes things very difficult. So one of the stories, one of the biblical kind of teaching points on dating and finding someone who loves God is the whole oxen. It's the oxen and the yoke. And we've all heard it so many times, so I'm going to run through it as quick as I can. But with farmers and in agricultural times in the Bible, that when they would load the oxen up to go and plow the field, they would yoke them together with it's like a piece of wood.
Yes.
But what they wouldn't do was yoke one really big, strong oxen with quite a small, minuscule ox.
A weak one.
Because what would happen is that the strong one would just dominate, and the plow wouldn't go in a straight line. It would go in circles, and you wouldn't get your field plowed the way that you wanted to. Not how you envisioned it anyway. Sure. But as soon as you can yoke two oxen together that are of similar size, similar strength, they can go in the same direction.
Good, yeah.
And the vision that you had for your field,
Good.
that's going to get plowed. And with dating and relationships, it kind of works the same
Good.
way. If you start dating and you find someone or a potential partner that is let's say, much smaller ox or much weaker ox, you might find that the vision that you had for your life, the direction that you're wanting to pull in, they might be pulling in a completely different direction. But like you're saying, the first few months is lies and deceit.
It is,
Not in a bad way,
yeah.
but to get you in the game.
Yeah. And the truth is, bad company corrupts good character.
Yeah.
And so when you are one of your closest relationships is with someone who's actually pulling you down spiritually, you're not going to pull them up spiritually. That almost never happens.
Not for long.
Yeah, it almost never happens.
You can invite strong, and you
Yeah.
might stay faithful for the first couple of weeks, but it becomes so draining.
Yeah, and it's a funny thing because it's a wisdom saying, but people will always go, oh yeah, but I know somebody. Yeah, exactly. We all know somebody who stands out as an exception.
Yeah.
But the exception proves the rule, and so
Yeah.
like it's just wisdom. It's just it's absolute wisdom. But obviously there's engagement.
Yeah.
I had the pressure on engage. Now, if you get engaged, you have to have a professional photographer around when you pop the question. I wonder what
time.
happens if they say no. Do they still take photos?
Do you know what? I didn't have a professional photographer.
Good on you.
We were on a yacht, and I get terrible seasickness. So this was already just a horrible idea, horrible plan. But that just shows I'm not much of a planner. So we got but what's cool? You know what? You don't need a professional photographer because if you're in a semi-public place, as soon as people get an itch of those people are getting engaged, everybody's got their phones.
Really?
We had
I would
foreigners.
never do that to a stranger.
We had foreigners that came on to us after and there was about maybe 20 other
Were they
people on the
German?
yacht. They were German.
Yeah, well, that makes total sense.
That's crazy that you knew that. Anyway, these guys just said, "Hey, we took a video of your whole thing," and it was so bad to watch because we were just falling around everywhere. I managed to get on my one knee. It was the most non-articulate thing I've ever said in my life. Got the words out. She said yes by God's grace, and then we just kind of floated around. Can I tell you the funniest part of it all, though?
Love to.
The captain said, it's because it was in the front of the boat, they cleared it, nobody was there. He said very carefully to me as we were getting on the boat, he says, listen, when you get to the front, you do need to wait 2 minutes because we're going to stop the boat when you get there, and then it's still shaky, but after 2 minutes, everything settles. So I think I heard him, but I wasn't listening. So we got to the front of the boat, we sat down, and after about 40 seconds, I just couldn't anymore. I was going to start crying. You know me, emotional guy. I was going to start crying. So I was like, no, I got to do this right now so I can get the words out. So then after about 40 seconds, I get on my one knee, and she's like beside herself, and it happens, but this boat is still shaking around. I'm surprised the ring didn't land up in the ocean, to be open and honest. But you know,
Would you have dived in to get it?
Jeez, I would have, because it got for me and my salary, that was rough. But I probably would have dived in. But you know what? It just speaks into, it's a special moment shared between two people. We loved it. And we loved the moment. You don't need, jeez, take the pressure off yourself.
Yeah, I'll take the pressure off. Totally. If you hear any giggling right now, it is our executive producer, Dumi, having a huge cackle in the background.
He just
that
loves
is
the
so
fact
funny.
that it wasn't this beautiful
He's
moment.
like, fantastic. Now all I need to do is beat that.
Yeah.
And I'm good.
It's not going to be hard. Just do it on dry land.
Dry.
You'll be
Or
fine.
like in a helicopter. Will you marry? Anyways.
You can bungee jump out.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Would you let us know how, if you're married, how the proposal went for you? Because I've heard of some really funny stories.
I've heard of some
years.
bad ones as well.
Yeah, just like hilarious.
Watching
like, you
TV
couldn't
on the
make it
couch.
up. You couldn't make it up. Anyways. Yeah, and I think engagement, what is your ideal engagement time? What do you think? I got a theory, and again, I'm just being harsh and hardcore, but
engagement is tough, and the time is tough because you're kind of there, but you're not there yet. So you feel like in your head, you're like, we're pretty much, but you're not though.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But you got a ring on your finger. Like, so but we're married. It's like, no.
Close enough to the finish line.
We're nearly there. Like but you're not. So I find engagement is tricky. So my thing is that I would try to keep engagement as short as it takes you to plan the wedding. So if it takes you, so our engagement was 8 months, which I feel, it felt pretty long, to be honest. So we had 8 months. Jean-Marie did a lot of the planning. We planned the wedding. We got married. I wouldn't go longer, to be open and honest, because that is the thing. You're like, you know, we're pretty much married, but you still want to honor God in that season. So if you're going to spend your whole dating relationship honoring God, and we're not just talking about sexes, there's a lot of different things that go into it, and that you don't want to write those 6 or 8 months off as saying, well, we're pretty much, you're not though.
Yeah.
You're not married yet.
Yeah.
So in that season, it's important. I don't know if that adds to your theory or completely.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. I mean, I would say anywhere between 6 to 12 months, because I know of people who engage for 2 years, and that's, I mean, there's no knock on that. I just don't know how wise it is for your relationship. And you're right. You know, we could be from a defensive position and talk about sexual purity.
We could be, yeah.
But it's not just that, because what I do think, though, is that engagement should be the next step or a deeper level in your relationship. So I don't think you should ever give your heart completely away, because you should be doubling down on, hey, is this somebody I'm actually really willing to spend my life with? So engagement is like, yes, I see being married to you, I'm thrilled, I love you. Like you should get engaged when you're in love, right? But you should still be on the lookout and testing, not other people, but just spending more time with the person, understanding more of their background.
That becomes an intensified period
Yes.
with your future spouse.
Yes. So be
future
intentional.
potential spouse.
Yeah, that's what I say. You've got a commitment to be married to this person,
Yeah.
but you still have an option to eject.
You can.
And just because you're engaged doesn't mean you have to be married.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Just test it out, because I think once you actually say yes and I do in marriage, that is not just a contract you've signed. It's not a promise you've made to the people around you. It's a covenant before God that you cannot retract like on a whim.
Yeah.
So, my life is not turning out how I planned, let me get divorced. No, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
So that's why I say, like, you've got up until that point. So use engagement as a more intentional process. Not saying be crazy,
Yeah.
but don't have it prolonged. I agree with you. I think as long as it takes to put a wedding on.
Yeah.
But again, some people want a wedding in this one and only place.
The one and only.
And it's the one and lonely.
Yeah.
And it's only available in 18 months' time. Are you kidding me? Find another venue. It's
Yeah.
one day. Yes, it's special.
Yeah.
But how much of your day, how much of your wedding day do you remember?
Not much, to be open and honest. Not much, because
But maybe it's because we're guys and women remember more.
even from Jean-Marie's perspective, we loved our wedding day, but it was the people.
Yeah.
We loved being with the people. We loved the friends that we had there. We loved the families coming together, and our engagement was tricky. But the wedding day itself was kind of
Every engagement is tricky.
True, but we just had this culmination of people there. We had a beautiful venue, but it was by no means the one and only hotel or whatever the deal is. It was a nice one of the vineyard venues
In Cape Town, yeah,
in
why
Cape
not?
Town that are open and available. I completely agree. I wouldn't try to fight for that, because then it's going to become all about the day. And then
Yeah.
God help you if something goes wrong. God help you if it's
Totally.
raining. It's
Totally.
going to ruin your day. For us, it could have rained. We would have been okay.
Yeah.
We would have been fine.
Totally. And you know what? That one day should be a great celebration, but you shouldn't go broke over it.
No.
Because you've got a lifetime of marriage.
Yeah.
Like,
And you got a honeymoon afterwards. I would rather put money there.
yeah. Look, again, there's different people, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But don't have to pay off your wedding for the next 20 years.
True.
Because I think you're just going to walk into all sorts of trouble. I think it is the people,
Yeah.
the people who you do your wedding with,
Yeah.
and the memories that you can make from that. And it should be special. So I don't think like drum it down so that you're like, oh my head, this is the most boring wedding ever. No, make it amazing, but fit it within other more important boundaries.
Good.
Like financial boundaries, like timeline boundaries, like.
I think that's great advice. And even as I love how the episode has developed and progressed. So maybe we've come to the point now to talk a bit about marriage, and we've got a great guy here to speak about marriage too. And Sven, who's got married really young and has been married for a long time. I'm going to do this whole what are your 5 key? No, I won't do that to you. Just in your experience.
I got it at the top of my head.
I know you do. And you guys are actually doing videos at the moment about marriage.
We are trying to teach the church on marriage.
Which is awesome. Maybe you can just speak briefly into what marriage has meant to you, and some of the lessons that you've learned along the way, something to keep people aware of, keep people thinking about.
Yeah. First and foremost, my wife is the most amazing person in my life, and I think what I've done intentionally because of my own character flaws, is that my wife is my standard of beauty.
Love that.
So that I'm not complimenting other people on their beauty. I'm not looking at other people. I'm not trying to be sneaky publicly. You know, I really want to honor my wife as the standard of beauty for my life, and she is for me. I think.
We should talk about that just now. But
we should, yeah. Staying in a growing relationship with Jesus for both of us has been you can ask her what's her top thing. She'll say it's relationship with God, without a doubt, because we are married in context of eternity, which means we're married now, but when we go to heaven or when we go into eternity, we're not married anymore. So I need to protect the most important thing in my life, which is my relationship with God.
Yeah.
The next thing is forgiveness, reconciliation, fighting well, communication, basically. We're terrible communicators with each other. We always think someone else knows what the other person is saying. Never works out.
Yeah.
So we just have to forgive each other regularly, talk about things regularly. And because I preach for a living, I can sometimes over-dominate the arguments because I got my way around words. So, and I think just constantly valuing her and looking for ways to serve her.
Yeah.
Because serving her deals with the pride issue in my life and the laziness issue in my life.
Yeah.
So those were, I don't know if that's even helpful to anybody, but those I would say are the most critical things that what we've tried to do.
Well, let's try to jump onto two of those. Two really stood out to me, which I really like. The one you spoke about firstly there was just kind of guarding your heart and your eyes, and making kind of Laura's the point of beauty for you specifically, and then it protects you when you're you said sneaky when you're out or at gym or wherever with different people, and protecting your heart in those moments, and trying to honor your wife in those moments. This is an extremely difficult journey that I think a lot of guys go on, that I'm on, that I think most married, not just guys, I mean females, anybody in married relationships, because you want to honor your spouse in those moments. What would you say is the starting, if somebody just wants to start doing that, because I can't, to be where you're at now, probably after years of working on this, might be difficult, but what were some of the things that you at the very beginning of saying, I don't want to be that type of person, I want Laura to be kind of it for me? What are some of the starting thoughts that you had, or some of the things that maybe you practically put into your life that helped you with that?
Well, realistically, you're always going to be attracted to other people.
Yes.
So it's to acknowledge that. Nobody gets into a marriage going, hey, in 15 years' time, I'm going to cheat on my wife. Nobody does that unless you're a dog, and you shouldn't be getting married to that person anyway.
You're sick.
Okay, yeah. It's like those movies you see where the groom is like sleeping around before it. Like, that's ridiculous. Don't even bother.
Yeah.
But you're going to be attracted to other people, but you need to protect your marriage. You want to, and so, I mean, people call it the double bounce, whatever. You're going to notice people that you're attracted to, but the point is not to let your imagination linger there.
Yeah. Because
if your imagination lingers there, it sows a seed into your heart.
That's good.
And what that seed is a seed of comparison, where when one day you're having a difficult moment with your wife, where does your brain go to? It starts going to what you're attracted to.
Yeah.
And now you're comparing, that person's so attractive. I'm sure they're the most amazing person on the planet. They've got a heart of gold, and everything they do is fantastic. And here you're stuck with somebody who is now being mean to you because of your own character flaws.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with something, and you go, she's had children. And now she's maybe doesn't look the same way she did before, or he's now over 40, and
vice versa.
And he's let himself go completely.
I think it happens to guys worse, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, anyway, being what it is,
and
all of a sudden you don't have a standard for beauty, and so you think that looks beautiful.
Wow.
And so it sows a seed in your heart, and when a seed is in your heart left unchecked, it germinates, it begins to grow, it begins to develop, and out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. And so then you begin to speak about your spouse in a certain way, in which could be the devaluing way. Oh, you should do this, and oh, you should do that, and oh, get yourself together. And you start complimenting other people's beauty. And it might start secretly, but then it becomes public.
Yeah.
And it becomes very unhealthy, and you can find yourself in a trap. There's a proverb that talks about, I think it's Proverbs, within the first 10 Proverbs, there's a proverb about the adulterous woman, and she puts on lipstick and she sounds sweet, but don't follow her to a bed because death lies there.
Yeah.
And that scares the living
it's a very scary
junk out of me.
Yeah,
so I'm like,
scary.
Just because it looks beautiful doesn't mean it leads to life. I'd rather where there is life, that be my standard for beauty. And so, yeah. So what I mean is I don't
That's
measure
good.
my wife against other women.
Yeah.
So she is beautiful to me. Her eyes are beautiful. Her, her body is beautiful. Her character is beautiful, and that's what that's my standard. I don't want to
I
measure
think
it.
that's so good. I think how you've put that is so good. That's so powerful. And I've learned just in brief kind of marriages that you can, I'm not like, so for me, I'm not very good at giving compliments, which is something that I'm working on, because what I'm starting to learn is that you can speak beauty and speak life into your spouse with the words that you use, and you
Good.
can also speak death with
Good.
the words that
Absolutely.
you use. So I love how you're saying, your words begin to change. You start saying, hey, you got to get that together, and you got to go to the gym, or whatever the deal is. I think that the more, you can always strive to be healthy together, of course, but I think if we can be better at really speaking life into our spouse and building them up and loving them and telling them exactly how you think
Big
they're
time.
being beautiful and you love how they are, they will also rise to that.
Yeah.
And they will respond so well. I respond really well to it. Jean-Marie's much better at kind of words of affirmation. I'm developing, trying to get better. But you can almost paint the picture with your words of the relationship and what you want to have. So I think that's
Absolutely.
powerful.
I think if you find yourself devaluing your spouse towards other people, even if it's in private.
Jeez, yeah.
So with your friends, if you dishonor your spouse with friends, you are in a dangerous place.
Very.
Because you're sowing seeds of disunity there. It doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
It never looks like it. But that's the beginnings of it. And someone's, you're being too... No. I'm putting guardrails up so that I don't have to pull myself off the edge.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get to the edge.
Yeah.
And I think we got to learn to honor our spouses in valuing them with our words. And I think what you said is you actually do form the marriage you have with the words you speak. And so, just if you can honor your spouse privately, then you can honor them publicly as well. So, and nobody, your spouse knows when you're blowing smoke.
They do.
Like, I've got the most amazing wife, but at home you're not showing that.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that I'm showing that at home before I
Yeah.
say that out publicly.
Yeah.
And if I got nothing to say, then rather let it be nothing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and grow in that. I think that's amazing. And I think maybe as we begin to conclude, one of the things that you said even Laura would say would be kind of the saving grace. It's been her relationship with God and then your relationship with God. I think what's sometimes awkward for couples is the whole, how do we bring our relationships together with God, if that makes sense? Like, do we pray together? Do we read scripture together? I know Craig Rochelle sets the best example of praying with his wife, but I'll be open and honest. We find that challenging. My wife and I is the whole holding hands, praying together, and all of these things. But we do have relationships with God for ourselves.
Yeah.
How do you guys do that?
I suppose they say couples that pray together stay together.
Sure.
Never pray together when you're dating.
Never pray together when you're dating.
Never pray together when you're dating.
Why not?
Because it develops an emotional bond.
It does, doesn't it?
And so you pray. What happens is, okay, let's pray together about our relationship. It somehow ends up being 10 o'clock at night and you're on the couch alone. Don't do it. It's stupid.
It's true.
But I can't profess that we pray together. We have prayed together and we do pray for one another.
Yeah.
I think it's more important that you're both praying than whether you're praying together.
Okay.
Because I don't, and of course, I know what Craig Rochelle is saying and what he's doing, and I would fully support that.
No,
I say,
it's great.
pray together. Absolutely. 30 seconds a day, 1 minute a day.
Awesome.
So what I've tried to do is when Lara leaves for work in the morning, I pray for her and I bless her with, like, may God lead you and guide you. And I try to do that every day. But we don't pray together most of the time.
Yeah.
But what we are both doing is we're both praying, we're both seeking God. What we do is we discuss what is God speaking to you about.
That's great, yeah.
We share things that we've read. Lara will of late has been giving me some scriptures that she thinks are for me, and I would talk to her about some things that I'm wrestling with in the scriptures, or what God is saying to my heart. So we talk about God, and we talk about God in our relationship, and all of that together almost every day. pretty much.
I think that's a great kind of practical actually to take in, because you can ask yourself that immediately, really, for anybody watching, if you're married or dating or single. In this context, if you're married, it's do we speak about God?
Yeah.
Like, do we, like, just not even holding hands and kumbayaing? It's do we speak about God? Like, do we speak about verses? Do we speak about what's challenging us? Do we speak about what's worrying us? What concerns us, and areas that we can grow in? Because I think as you start doing that, you do open the doors to maybe bigger and longer conversations. And if you get to the place where you pray together, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it becomes a value for you the more you talk about it. And so there are some things about Scripture that we don't always agree on.
Yeah.
But that's fine, and we're not supposed to agree on everything.
Yeah.
But we can talk about it. We
It's
can
great that you can talk
share
about
our
it.
heart with it, you know.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. Lara went through an incredible depression years ago, and it hit so bad. I wasn't the person who got her through that.
Yeah.
It was God.
Yeah.
And it was her courage. I might have kept things moving, but I didn't get her through that. God got her through that. I didn't get our relationship through that. God got our relationship through that.
Very good.
And I think when you realize that God is the most important person in your marriage and in your life, He will get you through the most difficult days. And you will, if you haven't had a difficult day yet, you are going to get to a point in your marriage that it's, do we divorce or not? You will get there. Everybody does.
Yeah.
The point is, if God's the most prominent person in your relationship, you go, you know what, but He will get us through. And there's always hope, and there's always grace, and there's always favor. There's always blessing, and there's always an opportunity for it to be healed and restored and reconciled. And so that's where I want to be. We're not going to be perfect. I'm going to go through a slump at some point as well. But I always want to know that God has got our relationship. And so I'm not serving Him so I can have a good relationship. I serve Him because I love Him. And out of that, if both of us are moving closer towards Jesus, our relationship is in the best hands possible.
I love that.
So,
Any relationship is on the brink of restoration. When God is our hope, He goes before us.
Totally.
He makes a way.
Totally.
What a great encouragement to anybody that's really watching and listening, because there could be people that are going through tough times at the moment, tough relational issues. Be encouraged by Sven's story, because it's true. And for all of us here, people that are watching, that God, keep Him at the center of your relationship. Keep Him at the focal point. Make Him a part of your conversation. Make Him a part of what you're speaking about. He will get you through what feels like a mountain.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it's seasonal stuff.
It is seasonal.
So there's different seasons. So, in summer, things grow. In spring, everything is fresh and new. But winter is not a bad season. Winter is a season for your roots to become deeper.
Yeah.
And so just because you're going through a trial, it doesn't mean that nothing's happening in your marriage. It means that you're getting deeper roots to overcome big obstacles. Our vision for our marriage is that it's a fruitful one. And fruit is formed in submission to Christ.
Yeah.
And so that's our goal. Like, it's very simple. I wish it was more complicated.
No.
I could write a book about it. I can't. But
You'll get your book idea. Don't worry, it's coming. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much, Sven.
Awesome. Good fun.
This has been a lot of fun. We really hope that this has been helpful to you and has reached you where you're at in your journey with relationships and dating or singleness or marriage. And it's been helpful and it's added value. That's what we try to do every week, is we just want to add value to you in some or another way. And we really trust that this has done that. And if you have watched this and you've enjoyed it and it's been helpful, you've listened to it, please share this on your social media, share this on this platform, like it, review it if you've got that option, subscribe to our YouTube page. All of that helps us in understanding how we can grow and get better. And please feel free, like we spoke about in the beginning, leave the comments, leave questions. If you've got any questions about marriage or dating or singleness, leave those. We look at them. We want to answer all of them. We know that really it's our amazing community.
what is your engagement story? We want to know.
There's your question. We're going to base, if it's a good story, we'll have a great next episode based on your engagement story. Jokes, but we will talk about it. But yeah, we trust that you have an amazing rest of your week. Thank you so much, Sven.
Thank you, Phil.
Been amazing. God bless you guys. Have a good one.
Ciao.